not straight. Just start talking or just.
Okay.
You're sharing it somewhere, but not on
Okay, that's important. Well, once LinkedIn goes up, then we'll officially say, hey, we're on LinkedIn now. But hey guys, in 3, 2, 1, we're on. Welcome everybody. Happy St. Patty's Day. I couldn't pick more fun people to have a party with.
Yeah.
Everyone, cheers.
Yo, Ange.
Cheers, cheers, and cheers.
It's a good thing I'm not there because you know I'm a hugger, right? Like I'm a big hugger, and we're not supposed to do that right now.
It'd have to be like the 1 meter hug.
That's right.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
I know.
Why don't you go hug a tree?
There you
You know what? I will, Jeff. I
Perfect.
will.
And
Immediately
then wait till
follow.
your neighbors see you.
go.
I'm gonna selfie that stuff.
You know, it's
I wanna
funny that
see
we
it.
got all these international hospitality experts all together, yet we all are Canadian. Chef Duane Keller is just outside of Washington, and he's joining us from down there in the U.S. And you've got me laughing, Kevin. I have the one and only thirsty traveler, Kevin Brauch. Whoop, whoop. John
I'm
Reese.
spending way too much time alone, obviously.
Clearly. I saw a thing online today where somebody had a puppet in the window, and it said day 3 of isolation.
That's hilarious.
They were losing it.
That's hilarious.
Losing it. So I mean, there's cancellations all over the world. Everything's shutting down. Our industry is now completely at a halt, pretty much. I mean, lots of places are saying, "Oh, you can only have 250 people, or 50 people, or 10 people, wherever you happen to be on the planet, together in a gathering." I don't think it really matters how many people you have in a gathering. Either way, it's not a good idea. Okay, so we're officially live on LinkedIn, everybody. Hi, LinkedIn, everyone.
Hola.
So my introductions, everybody on LinkedIn just missed, but I think everybody knows everybody here. Again, I have world-renowned chef Duane Keller. I have world traveler, and everybody knows our thirsty traveler Kevin Brauch.
You have John.
And I have,
And then there's John.
my good friend John Reese, who is 3-decade. What are you showing
You're
me?
on LinkedIn.
My handsome face.
Yes. Sorry, I interrupted John. Sorry, Chef.
It's quite okay.
John's been doing this for over 30 years in the hospitality industry. He's owner of Table 9 Coaching, part owner of Trading Post Brewery in Langley, British Columbia, and he's a great resource for what's going on in small business and medium business within our industry. And thanks very much, guys, for joining us. Again, because we've just gone live on LinkedIn, let's do another cheers. Happy St. Patty's Day, everybody, since we all can't be together and Kevin can't give us all a big hug. Not that I don't want one, buddy.
You're going to get one next time.
Hey, I tried to find you in Toronto. I went to the RC show.
I know. I had to miss it this year.
I think you were in Dubai.
Correct.
How cool was that?
I've been there a couple times. It was a really fast trip. I was just there to hand over a check, present some awards at a dinner, and open a culinary school, a new culinary chef school in Dubai. So it was a lot of fun. I don't mind spending as much
That's
time
the
on the
Wednesday in
plane.
Kevin's world, right?
Yeah. Built to do it.
So let's kind of go around. I mean, I want to hear what's going on in your areas, everybody. I mean, we can start with John. I mean, John, you had, we spoke last night, you were going to have a meeting with your staff today and your management in the Lower Mainland, British Columbia about what are next steps? What are we doing? What are things looking like in your world right now?
It's changing minute by minute. So it's very difficult to pin down. Government throwing little nuggets out and little and providing frameworks in terms of support for business and support for employees who might be affected, but there's no details yet. But most of the people that I know are either shutting down completely already in advance of being mandated to do so, or doing what everyone else has been asked to do: pull tables out, 50% of your occupancy, social distancing, focus on takeout and delivery, extra cleaning and sanitization. And then most importantly is just a pile of communication with customers and staff. That's all you can really do, is just try to keep ahead of it as best you can and be responsible, right? But it hurts.
What about the wine, beer, spirits aspect of it? Are you guys doing to-go cups?
That would be a good idea. No.
I hear New York City is.
Yeah.
They're making sure that people understand it's not for the rest of the world, but it's just a fix just to help revenue coming into the restaurants.
Yeah. No, most people, I haven't seen any of that happening either with clients in Vancouver or Victoria or with Trading Post Brewing. Luckily, we can sell growlers and packaged beer products of our own stuff, so that's great. So that sort of thing is picking up a little bit, where people are coming in and grabbing supplies and heading home. I did hear, and Duane, you might know more about this, but my brother-in-law in Philadelphia mentioned that liquor stores were all shutting down in Pennsylvania, which is interesting.
Well, it's kind of hard to get into a liquor store in Pennsylvania, anyways.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah.
So it didn't surprise me.
No, the apocalypse is coming when they close the liquor store.
Right?
Come on, we're here to cheer everybody up.
That's right.
So every morning when I wake up and I go online and see that the LCBO in Ontario is not closed, I'm a happy boy.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So since you mentioned that, Kevin, I mean, what are you? I mean, you're talking with bars, restaurateurs. I mean, you've consulted with people all around the world, a lot in Southern Ontario and Toronto. I'm sure that you're fielding calls right now and having conversations with bar owners and probably suppliers. So what are people saying, and what's your advice?
Okay, so I'll just use this as a marker. 10 years ago to this day, St. Patrick's Day, 10 years ago, I was on the Jay Leno show. And I was there promoting the wonderful values of Irish whiskey, right, on this great Irish day when we're all Irish, even if we're not. And that was scary as shit for me. And this is actually scary because, I was saying, it changes by the hour, but John said it almost is changing by the minute right now. And we have no precedent for anything that's going on right now. I'm seeing how it's affecting front of house. I know how it's affecting back of house. I know how it's affecting management, supervisors, restaurant owners, restaurant groups. And I've never seen the governments collectively tackle something so hard as this. When I was doing Thirsty Traveler, I flew through the War on Terror, through SARS, through avian bird flu, through the shoe bomber, through the liquid and gel bans. And we seem to be able to make all of that work. And now with coronavirus or COVID-19, I feel like they're hiding something, because I've never seen, kids are no longer going to school.
Yeah.
They're not going to go to school till September.
Yeah, we're done in Calgary.
I don't understand. The French Open is, we're killing sporting events. Las Vegas must be just so pissed at the rest of the world, because the amount of money that's not changing hands anymore is incredible. And I don't have an answer, I'm aghast, dude. And we're largely sitting here isolated, mental health is a big concern. Financial is a big concern. The psychology of all of this, I think, is going to be the biggest toil. And we have no answers, and I don't even know if we have the questions to properly ask to get the answers that we want.
Well, I mean, I think communication is key. I mean, my 2 cents is stay in touch with your people, stay in touch with your suppliers, staying in touch with your staff, staying in touch with your clientele, so that they know that you're still there. If you're doing delivery, then have that as an option, so people know that you're still bringing people in,
Still active, and
right,
people
still active.
people
All
need
of
that
those.
release. I mean, puppets aside, I'm gonna try and make a hand puppet here in a minute. But puppets aside, like we need to be able to get out of the house, even if it's for 5 minutes, walk the dog, go to the essential places like the pharmacy or the grocery store, go get your takeout. Don't have it delivered. Get some exercise. We're stagnant. We're like a swamp right now, and we don't know what to do with ourselves, I think, for the large part.
And that just goes to show by the craziness on this screen alone.
Yeah.
Chef Keller, I know that you're just going into a new position at a new facility, and that's got to be an interesting time for you. And I know that you're transitioning with that. But I mean, we've all, as Kevin said, I mean, we've all been through the SARS time. We've been through all of these different threats to the industry and all of this thing that comes along every year or two. And this is, as you say, kind of a freaky time. But I mean, what's your recommend on even just staying in contact, or staff morale, or training, or is that leash already off? And we got to look at what we got to do when the lights come back on.
It's an interesting time for sure. In this area, 9/11 was the last time that I felt anything was impacted this big. I'm listening to helicopters flying around, and that's about it. There really is no traffic. I was out driving around today. Things are still going on. They're building and doing things, but thank God for social media, because I feel I'm still connected. But I'm working on a soup kitchen. I think this, like I heard today, is going to be going on for a long time. And we're going to get back to real grassroots, real down to earth, hospitality. And I'm looking at places in Old Town Alexandria, negotiating and, getting really good quotes on square footage to basically open a place to take care of people.
Great.
So what does that look like? Is it a place where people who are just in need and can't get to the grocery store, or there's no other way and they can come, or is this for people who are pre-COVID-19 already in a hard way, or?
I don't think it's that's a great question, but for me it's just I'm a soup guy. I can live on soup, and we all judge our operations by their soups and sauces and
Sure.
mise en place. I've lived in this town for 20 years, and I'm known for value and quality, and I think we miss comfort food sometimes, and this is the real time for comfort food. So I think I'm going to open a soup kitchen, non-for-profit, and just take care of people, because I think we're in for a long ride. I think we're looking at August, September. And I have to agree with Kevin. I think there's more information, but we're just being fed so much so that nobody gets overwhelmed, which is, you know, part of the plan is to communicate, but not to overwhelm people. And I think there is something more to this.
Well, it's, as you say, it's an opportunity to go back to what we would always call considered basic hospitality, but there's also the opportunity there to go back to basic forms of cooking as well. I mean, since we're all in that genre, I mean, we can talk about it's an opportunity for to teach as well, and to teach what you can to cook basic foods, because a lot of people, if it doesn't come out of a packet, they don't know what to hell to do with it. The common man, anyway.
Yeah, just coming off of an iodine-free diet for 16 days.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I had to take a big radioactive iodine pill to finish off some of my residual cancer. Mm-hmm. I grew up in Hershey, PA, and I used to sit on the banks of the Susquehanna River, and we'd sit out there and just listen to the humming of 3 Mile Island. Oh, yeah. So while I was going to take this pill, they delivered to me in a 6-inch lead canister, that took 2 people to carry. That's all I could think of are all the great times that we had on the Susquehanna. And actually, it was one time in the middle of winter, I picked up a great big rock and I threw it out on the river, and it landed on the ice with a big clunk, and it didn't go in. So I went out there and I grabbed a hold of the rock and I threw it a little further. And I continued to throw this rock. It must have weighed 20, 25 pounds. And it just was my path to walking across the Susquehanna River in the middle of winter, 1979, onto 3 Mile Island, where I took a whole bunch of radioactive signs and took them home and hung them up in my room, which was really, really cool at the time. But looking back on it, I don't know if it's so cool anymore. But
maybe you could send one to Kevin for his collection there behind him. You have one from 3 Mile Island, Kevin?
I remember. I was thinking he was going to blame Hershey's, the chocolate factory. I forgot. I forgot about 3 Mile Island, but I remember that very well. These were all the places. I made one of those stupid signs that were on my trips from last year, and I made it for myself. I believe in sort of art therapy, which I think is going to get a lot of the more creative people in our industry through this time. I think people really need the hobby. I think when you're working 40 to 60 hours a week and you're sort of left to your own devices, I don't think drugs are necessarily the answer. I will say alcohol is a really good support mechanism. But on some of my days off, when I'm troubled, when I'm thinking about things, when things aren't going right in my head or in my headspace or in my life, I made one of those signs where I went last year, and it was like Holbox, Mexico, Tahiti, Fort Erie, Ontario, Canmore, Alberta, Puerto Vallarta, Trinidad, Key West, Florida. And, it's a nice little souvenir, but it takes your mind off, the bigger thoughts of the day. And I really, the financial thing is going to be major.
For sure. And
I can't even wrap around that. How many small individual business owners, restaurateurs in cities like Toronto and cities where there's a significant food culture are going to probably lose their business. Yeah. The big companies are going to get stung, but they're going to be okay. Strength in numbers, probably. I'm really concerned about the front of house people, the back of house too, and things that they can do to try and normalize the situation. I have a couple of ideas. I can share them with you later in terms of what we can do to keep our family. Because, when you're working in a restaurant, like I said, 40 to 60 a week, it's almost your primary family. I don't care if you have a wife and kids at home. I don't care if you have a girlfriend at home. You're spending more awake hours with these people. This is really your family, especially if you're in a really happy space. This is a really scary time to be away from the people that you spend most of your week with.
Yeah, no question.
And, I've got a couple of ideas. and not everybody's going to put them into practice, but we have to remind each other of the things that we can do to support. If we can't get together, yeah, I'd rather be sitting in a pub with you on a day like today, even though we're all in different cities. I think this can do a lot of good, but it can only do so much, talking through the screen. I'm starting to run out of shows on Netflix, guys. I'm going to have to dig out the VHSs and the DVDs.
Oh, awesome.
I think you're right, Kevin. You talk about, our work, family, and hospitality, and that sounding board that we kind of have as part of our, as our family. I mean, these are the people who you share your triumphs with, and you share your bullshit with, and hey, this is going on with the kids, or this is going on with the spouse, and this is what we did last weekend, and
yeah,
those people who are almost your unbiased family, to have that sounding board is really part of our day. It becomes part of our DNA, especially when we spend that much time with everybody. And I'm sure, John, you're mentoring small business operators and medium-sized business operators all the time, and I'm sure that you're having those thoughts about, how am I going to talk to this guy, or this guy's going to call me, or you've got this gal who's got a restaurant is going, what now? And that's really where you come in as well, right?
Yeah, I suppose so, but I don't really have a lot of specific answers that I can provide for people in the same boat, which is a little unusual. This is across the board,
Right.
And everyone's just scrambling to figure it out. And Kevin's right that financially it's going to be very challenging on two levels. One, and probably most importantly, is on the staff side of things, both front of the house and kitchen. Not only wages, but tips that people are counting on to pay the bills, right? And the other side is the business. And the bigger guys with deeper pockets and healthy cash flow and the ability to borrow, and with any government assistance that comes in, those guys are going to be okay. But the mom and pop, I've heard a number yesterday that the industry were expecting to see at least a 20% attrition rate. Some 20% of these businesses are going to close and not reopen.
Yeah.
And that's frightening stuff. That's
20%. That you put that number across the board. That's a lot of businesses.
It's a lot of businesses. So all you can do is support, reach out to people. I'm just reaching out to clients of mine, is letting them know I'm around, happy to have a shoulder to cry on, happy to do whatever I can do to help. And that's really all we can do at this time, is, as Chef Duane mentioned, community, there's an opportunity here for community to come together, the industry to come together, support one another. Hey, even political parties might even start talking to one another. That would be realize that there's actually a common good that we're supposed to be working towards. And
I think it's happening.
We can help each other out.
Yeah.
That's really
I even heard Jason Kenney say something positive about Justin Trudeau today.
Oh.
So that's it's dark times when.
Yeah, no kidding.
Chef Keller and I were talking before we came on, and we're talking about so what do you do with the staff, right? And are you are you able to keep them motivated and whatnot? And your comment, Duane, was that they're going to be gone. But my thought is, where the hell are they going to go? Because there's not really anywhere for them to go to. Everything's closed.
Yeah.
So you're in a position where you have to have a huge staff, right?
Me?
Yeah.
I announced I left Bellhaven Country Club this week. I was entertaining quite a few different things. I'm probably going to be downtown next week, although the building is shut. And even the largest food service company in the world has their challenges. It's I use the analogy of the Bruce Willis movie that had Die
Hard.
no, it wasn't that.
It was St. Patrick's Day. It's not Christmas yet, Kevin.
It's like, hey, we got to go and blow up this asteroid before it hits the Earth.
Right.
So they go try to find Papa Bear, and he's out there on his Harley, in Arizona, and they go find, and why I remember that movie is because Liv Tyler asked me a couple questions about food one time, and I'll never forget that movie after that.
That was his daughter, I
Wait a
think.
minute. I forgot my sunglasses.
This is
No, seriously, I was cooking
gonna
at the
bring mine to the party.
I was cooking at the James Beard house, and I went upstairs to Balducci's. I was down in the basement, and went upstairs, and I was doing some shopping, and Liv Tyler came up to me, I guess because I had my chef coat on, and was asking me a whole bunch of questions. And when I got downstairs, I realized, who it was. That's the PG version.
Yes, thank you for that. We're gonna producer, wrap it up, Keller.
I got an old saying: wherever you go, there you are. So always make the best of it.
And here we are.
Yeah.
We're
Happy St. Patty's Day.
on St. Patty's Day.
Yeah,
I think what we need to, I mean, in my thought and experience, and I've been kind of hesitant to kind of jump on coming on and kind of throwing something together. I wanted to have something that's positive and inspirational and educational, and something where we're bringing together individuals from the community, from our industry community, that we can reach out and get an idea from each other and help each other through this time. And even like John said, pick up the phone, call your supplier, call your people. Hey, how you doing? Is there anything I can help you with? Even just to be that sounding board that we're used to having, I think is absolutely key for us to stay sane and to stay motivated. We're looking at, of course, the timeline on this thing. Nobody wants to say how long because nobody knows, but through it, it's there will be a light at the end of the tunnel. And if we all stay the hell home and order as much takeout as possible, we will get through it faster, I think. And I think that's definitely key. Okay, I'm getting cues.
What's the cue?
More questions.
Did you hear about that? Did you hear about that restaurant they just opened on the moon?
No.
Oh, it's got great food, but no atmosphere.
Oh, brum, bum.
And it has takeout.
Oh, yeah. Well, there we go. You could go. You got to stand 1 meter apart.
No, I think if we can get everybody to buy gift cards and do takeout and support the local businesses, I think this is just an opportunity to go that avenue, go that route and keep them going.
It's a change in philosophy, like I don't do a lot of, if I'm going to eat out, if I'm not going to cook for myself, I typically want to go out and dine. I understand I understand what the value of takeout is. I'd rather take out than get delivery. Delivery always comes cold and it's always less than you expect for the most part.
Right.
I'm always pleasantly surprised when I get great delivery. It's hot, it's fresh, it hasn't wilted in the box. So I'd rather go on my own clock, my own dime, and go get it myself and know that it's sitting under the lamps waiting for me, and I'll get there early. I don't even know if you're allowed to have a beer while you're waiting for your food now these days if you go into some place early. But we really have to readjust our thinking, and we've never had to do that before. We just want it now. I can order Starbucks, and I'm 5 minutes away, and I can walk into the store, and it's there on the counter for me. I don't even have to engage with people working in the store, which is weird. You know, that was an adjustment in thinking. We haven't had a significant adjustment in thinking like this since probably World War II. You know, when there was just no food, period.
Right.
You know, and we still have food. You know, there's still stuff on the shelves. They're reminding us all of that. We're not going to normalize at the same rate either. You know, it's going to happen in different areas of the United States and Canada and around the world, I think at different times. You know, it's not like there's going to be one day, one finish line, and then everything is awesome and we're all back at the same time. It's not going to work like that. You know, sports is going to kind of trickle back into our lives. Public access is going to trickle back into our lives. Also, arts and culture and festivals are going to trickle back in. I'm worried about the young kids in the industry, primarily, you know, the front of house kids, the servers, and how do you keep them motivated, and how do you keep them sort of mentally safe? And, you know, what are some of the possibilities that you can do, you know, as an owner, as a restaurateur, as a GM, if you can maybe allow them in small groups a couple of hours access to the restaurant each and every day, just so they feel like they're back at their home. You know, let them come in, have a coffee, you know, they can all sit at separate tables, but they can at least talk to each other in person. They can use the Wi-Fi at the restaurants. You know, maybe even there's some small payments to do some of that heavy cleaning, heavy lifting, level the tables, you know, tighten the screws on those chairs that are all wobbly and weak. You know, do some of that stuff that you can never do, even though it's on your list of responsibilities on close at the end of the night or on Sunday shifts when it's slow. You know, maybe there's a way to give them a couple hours a week payment to really get some fundamental stuff done in the restaurant. Maybe it's recipe development in the back. Maybe you take a guy from the dish pit and you give him some knife skills. So maybe he can move on. I mean, dish pit guys are valuable. And most of the dish pit guys I know are happy in the dish pit, right? They get paid
Nobody
pretty
bothers
well.
you in the dish pit.
What's that?
Nobody bothers you in the dish pit.
No, exactly. You're your own man. You're on your own island in the dish pit. But for those that want it, maybe they can go in there. We have a lot of food that's going to go to waste too. Like you were saying, the soup kitchen, Chef Keller, great idea, brother. I was in New York City. I was living in New York City doing Iron Chef America during the blackout. And there was a restaurant called August. And they had no refrigeration for 4 days. And they do a lot of fresh, you know, farm to table stuff. And it was going bad. So they didn't have the same challenges as we do now with COVID. But they were cooking the food and serving it out in the street. They brought in a Jenny, some butane, you know, burners, and they got rid of their waste food and gave it out to the neighborhood, to the homeless, to anybody that wanted it, you know. There's a lot of, you know, stuff is going to go bad in the fridges. There's going to be a lot of waste out of this that we're not even thinking about. You know, so I think an idea like a soup kitchen is a great idea. If you can get around the, you know, you bring them in 5 at a time, then you kind of clean and swab, and then you repeat and repeat. I think it's good for everybody's. It's moral. You want to. What did I write down? I just made some notes earlier. I said, but do good and feel good in a bad environment, because this is really a negative environment, and I think we have to keep people's heads as high as they can be held. You know, this is only going to go so far.
Yeah, there you go.
Say again, John?
Both Kevin and Duane have touched on great points, and I'm admittedly not much of a silver lining guy. Like, we all know this is shit, and it's going to be a lot of pain and a lot of struggle for a lot of people. How that manifests itself, we don't fully know yet, but we know there's going to be struggle. But, you know, like where Kevin was going and where Chef was going with the soup kitchen, there, if we can turn this struggle around into some sort of transformative opportunity where we can start coming together and looking at creative ways to engage staff, you know, use the opportunity to, hey, let's maybe start planning our business a little bit better. We've never had time to actually sit down and strategize, get our staff together, have some, you know, good focus groups, like just try to use the opportunity to say, hey, how are we going to come out of this better and stronger? Is there a new model that we can, you know, things are being stripped right down to the bare essentials. I just got a text from a client and a friend. She said, "Oh yeah, well, I'm just trying to figure out how to create a new business model in the next 72 hours." Big smiley face. Yeah, that's all you can do is get creative and say, how do I reshape this? And so when I come out of it, that the business and the industry, my people, are actually in a stronger, better place so that we can weather these storms. It's going to require a huge amount of innovation, self-awareness, just shaking things up. But there are opportunities to come together and do things like you said. And the mental health aspect of it, that Kevin mentioned, I think that we have to be really on top of that, not only for people within the industry, but everyone else who's shut in, single moms with 3 kids at home, seniors who can't get out, can't get food. Is there, in addition to soup kitchens, a charitable opportunity that businesses can run, preparing meals that we can provide out into the community? So good things are going to come of it. It's just going to really take some perseverance and some fortitude to get there, I think.
Speaking to Kevin's point about takeout and delivery, I mean, for those operators that are still open, this is an opportunity to take a second look, third look, better look at what is your menu, what's available, what type of packaging are you using? Are you still going to be front of mind, front of thought for people who are looking to get delivery? Are you having deliverable products that are going to travel well? And if you are down to a skeleton crew and maybe it's just you and your manager and one other person in the kitchen putting it together, do you have a 100-item menu or do you have a 6-item menu? What makes sense? I read a place in Montreal said that they're still open selling bagels, but they've gone down to their 4 top bestsellers. And this place that does 50, 60 different types, right? And we're still going to be open, but these are our best sellers, and that's what we're doing. And it makes sense in that way because, I mean, number one, you have to talk about.
My waitress brought it to me.
You, number one, have to watch your costs because you don't have that much money coming in because you don't have a full dining room anymore. But if you still are available or still allowed to stay open by government regulation, then we need to really look at those things too. So does your menu travel well? Are you able to get your products? If you can't get them in on a truck, can you get them locally? What about the farmer's market is not open, but these people still have stuff growing. So can you bring that in? Maybe take a look at healthier items. We're looking at the key people who are going to have the hardest time if they do get this virus are the elderly, the obese, people who have a lifetime of smoking, for example, and people who basically have an unhealthy lifestyle are going to get their asses kicked. And this is maybe a good time for us to revisit that thought process too. So if like Chef Keller said, he's doing a soup kitchen. I mean, bone broth soup, brother. I mean, I don't know if there's a healthier thing that you can make.
No, it cures just about everything. And I think after, the next 15 days, everybody's going to be back to basics. It's an adjustment to going back to basics in our life. I mean, you think about zero forecasting, when you're running operations. And I think as an operator, I would think about all the good things that we've done over the years and all the money that we have made and reinvested into, like Kevin said, keeping the front of the house busy. Now there's no excuse to say you don't have time for training.
Exactly.
The service industry has always been busy and training's always been a struggle, but I think now is the time to reinvest in your people and get back to basics.
I mean, you could take your W set, you could take your Prud'homme, you could learn more about beer, you could learn more about wine. There are programs that, I mean, you can buy a cookbook and go to the market because you're still allowed to go to the market or the grocery store and teach yourself how to cook if you're not a strong culinarian, right? You work in this industry. I want the best servers are the ones that know something about it. They're not hide. This used to be a place 20 years ago where you would hide, right, until you decided what did you want to do with your life. That's kind of my take on it. And now you can have a good life. You can have a career working in the hospitality, in the food and beverage industry. You know, if you find the right fit and you bring your A game, you know, you don't play restaurant. You either are a restaurant, you be restaurant. You are restaurant, but you don't play it. You know, it's not a game. We spend far too much money, you know, in environments like this, and we're not going to have the money coming out of this. A lot of people are going to be hurting financially. It's not like the restaurants are just going to go boom pow when we come back. You're right. There's time to train. There's time to reinvent. There's time to streamline. And rather than sit around every day and just let this wash over you like a horrible mess, you know, and that's where maybe some of this stuff comes in handy, where, you know, you motivate a friend or two and you make goals for yourself. And today I'm gonna really take a hard look at my menu and see what I can change, or I'm gonna take a look at my supplier list, or I'm gonna take a look at my takeout boxes, you know, and I don't necessarily want to spend more money, but maybe there is some changes, you know, and it has to come in a good mindset, right? So you have to, I get my best ideas when I go walking or I go cycling. I honestly do. Like if I sit in the house and I'm even if I'm having a good day, I never find that the ideas come as clearly as they are when I'm out on the street. And I know we're not supposed to be out in the street, but you know, you're in a good mindset and you can only do it on the days that you want to do it. Stephen King used to write 10 pages a day, like it or not. That was his mantra. If he was in a bad mood, he would write 10 pages a day. If he was in a great mood, he'd write 10 pages a day. Probably affected the books that he wrote. But, you know, we have the time right now to do a lot of things that are on our to-do list that never get done, like Chef Keller said. And I'd rather see people champion this than get dragged under the bus by it. But that's a really hard ask. That's a really hard challenge and request.
Well, John and I, over the last several weeks, have been talking about just back and forth about training, server training, and the program that I put on in BC at the beginning of beginning of February. And we were kind of just asking each other questions and hey, can I help you out? Can I help you out? But this is an opportunity. I mean, these people, when things do come back, the training still needs to be there. You don't have to be in the room. We can talk server training all day long. I don't have to leave my seat. I can do that seminar from right here. And the same way as a GM can do that. Hey, everybody, you know, come on, let's talk shop for 20 minutes. And maybe that's the connection. Maybe we don't have to be in the same room, but that's still the opportunity for those training materials. It's no longer, hey, just take the menu, go home and learn it. Hey, let's talk about it. Let's have these conversations. And maybe it's a virtual connection that we make over the next 6 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it has to be. But it's taking the opportunity, as we've all said now, it's taking the opportunity, spending that time to connect, reconnect, re-educate, reevaluate, and as I love to say, educate, inspire your people, because again, it's not over. It's just on pause. So what we do with that time is key.
I think it's a correction. Going to be a correction. You know, we went from 8,000 to 12,000 food and beverage operations here in the DC Metro over the last 10 years. And I hate to say it, but I think only the strong will survive.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, some of those marginal players, those smaller people who aren't doing a good job, they just won't have the capacity to hang around, and the rest of us have to, you know, use that time, like we've all been saying, sharpen our games up and get better at what we're doing, because emerging from this is not going to be an easy thing. We're really going to have to be so on top of it and patient with ourselves and patient with the clientele within the marketplace. But yeah, there will be attrition. There's no question. And hey, it's kind of like the stock market. You know, you can't keep on going up and to the right forever from new high to new high to new high. At some point in time, there is a correction.
What's a stock market? We don't have that anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
You know, and and as you say, Chef Keller, Kevin and I, when Kevin was on my show, we had this conversation about craft breweries. And we were talking about how they will weed themselves out eventually. I mean, not with this happening, but people who are really, you know, working on their game are gonna stay, and the other ones are not. And one of my clients in Melbourne, Australia, he was saying that in Australia they're just overwhelmed with so many different restaurants pre this system, or this situation, that he said, you know, what really needs to happen for restaurants to thrive again is that all of the bad ones that kind of popped up every 20 feet, there has to be some Darwinism happening, right? So that's, as you say, I mean, the correction is happening whether we like it or not, I think.
Yeah, there's going to be, when everything passes and everybody gets back to business, that's going to be that's the pendulum swinging the other way. And that's going to be overwhelming for everybody.
Well, okay, go ahead.
It's like the movie, you know, when Bruce Willis goes and tries to find his dudes to get them back together. It's like, oh shit, where is everybody? Get on the phone, let's go. And the waves, you know, it's like, for me, it was every spring. In this town here for 20 years, when spring comes, it's an overwhelming amount of business. Either that or it's an opening. And I did a lot of openings. But, you know, I mean, you have to be prepared to take care of everybody when they come in. And since everybody's going away now, wait till they all come back.
Yeah. I love how he speaks in Bruce Willis analogies. I typically speak in sports and in romantic analogies. But I was going to say, and I understand, like, I guess that's tied into your location and the seasonality of your territory. But it's like when you break up with a girl, and then maybe 6 months or a year later, you get back together. Maybe you run into her on the street, and everything's kind of copacetic now, and you guys decide to give it another chance. This is what it's going to be like when we come back. It's not going to be easy. Everybody's going to have rust on them, right? Like, people are going to forget stuff. People are going to forget how to do their jobs. You know, chefs will always remember how to cook, but servers will forget things. I want those salt and pepper shakers to be emptied, cleaned. I want the ketchup bottles to be emptied and cleaned. Right? Heck, just buy new ketchup, because they can't sit around underneath the waiter stand for 6 months. It's going to ferment. We're going to be rusty. We're going to be rusty when we come back. And like, what's that going to look like?
Well, suppliers are going to be rusty too. You know, they're going to be adjusting down on everything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Top levels, everything's going to go down, and then suddenly it's going to have to start moving the other direction. So yeah, there's going to be bumps in the road for everybody. There's no question.
I'm curious as to what's going to happen with big organizations as well that have multiple locations. For example, the Keg across Canada shut down yesterday. 10,000 people are employed by the Keg. And when the lights come back on, is there going to be a retraining? Or are we going to have, hey, we're going to open in 4 or 5 days, so now we're going to bring everybody back in to you know, kind of polish up, or to have a, you know, re-menu training, get people back on the line to remember the menu? Because again, when those chits start coming back in again, are we going to get a couple of warm-up days, you know, these types of things, you know, within the industry? And I mean, I use that company as an example. We all know it, but again, 10,000 people, that's a heavy lift to retrain and to relaunch.
The companies with integrity are hopefully going to do that.
Yeah.
You know, there's going to be restaurants, whether they're sort of several locations or singular, you know, ownership, they're probably not going to have that time or avails afforded to them. There's no excuse for like a multinational or a big national company that has multiple locations like the Keg to not do something like that, to not value their employees enough.
Kevin, I I was sitting in a 2,000 room, $2 billion hotel that just opened in Maryland, across from the Potomac there. It's called Gaylord National. When that first, when the 2009 bubble burst on Wall Street. And I thought, everybody would be taken care of too, but it didn't go so well.
No.
So we're not sitting in all the conference rooms and all the boardrooms right now. And hopefully everybody does the right things and takes care of the people. But this is a 30% loss on the stock exchange.
Yeah. And I guess you're right. We are, some of the companies that are owned by, shareholders, they want their profit, right? They want to do anything that they can to kind of increase the profit, and they don't really think down to like things like staff training or staff support days.
Well, we talked a little bit about ROI last time.
Yeah.
And
and exactly what's the ROI in that guy? And I'm of the firm belief that, and I think several of us are, that when the restaurant industry went to the stock market, it went to shit. So we've got some questions here from people who off of LinkedIn. So I'm gonna have to lean forward to read them because I'm not getting any younger. There he is. Reach out. From Jason Whedon on LinkedIn, is anyone doing anything for artisan bakers in Chicago? We are trying to leverage our last mile logistics to deliver bread from all the small bakers that rely on restaurants for a lot of business. It's a great idea to support artisan bakers where they would normally be going to restaurants. Is anybody out there doing something where they're saying, hey, you know what, we have this supply, these people are still available, still out there, everybody still eats bread for the most part in whatever form or fashion. Are people actually taking the opportunity to look and say, okay, this is available, we can get this out to people who are in need, or maybe we don't want to go to the grocery store, we can go and have an order ready for us to pick up. What are your thoughts on that, guys?
Soup goes well with bread.
And Die Hard.
And Die
Hard.
Yeah,
that's right.
No, I think that, certainly, I don't know what it's like in the East, but out here, we're just getting our heads wrapped around it on the West Coast and trying to figure out what it's all going to look like. So we're still sort of ramping down, and I don't think that we've really hit the reality yet.
Yeah.
Food banks are going to be a huge opportunity, the whole food security thing. They're getting very creative in how they're going about doing their business because they can't have people come in. So they're setting up tents outside. I think I saw this in Toronto as well. Tents outside. They're trying to do things, keep the supply coming from the grocery stores, bakeries, et cetera. So the people who really need access still have access to good, healthy food. But yeah, we're just at the beginning of this. So I haven't seen, there's talk, but I haven't seen a whole lot of need yet for people really to come together and get creative, but it's going to happen. And yeah, we have to support those local artisan bakers who rely upon, selling 100 baguettes a day to, X restaurant down the street. And if that dries up for them, what are we going to do to keep these people engaged, entertained, and employed and practicing their craft?
Yeah, and as John said, like it's not an hourly thing now; it's a minute by minute thing, and you got to remember, like the hammer just fell on like Thursday of last week. It's only Tuesday. We've had like 4 or 5 days. We're still wrapping our head around it. The state of emergency in the province of Ontario was just announced at 8:30 this morning. Yeah. We're getting daily messages from the Premier of Ontario, and I don't think, there hasn't been enough time to get creative. I think we're still in a bit of panic mode.
Right.
And hopefully, because we've been given sort of a 2-3 week, 2-month window. Like, I don't even know what the windows are, and the windows keep changing.
Yeah.
I don't think we've had enough time yet to fall into that creative zone. I'm a guy that wants to jump on that as soon as possible, but it's been 5 days.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of conversation about people jumping on and having solutions to problems and coming on this place and that place. How can you solve this problem? I don't think there's a solve the problem. I think there's a how can you best roll with it? How can you best stay sane? How can you best stay relevant? As Robbie said before too. I think that's where we're at with it. And I was hesitant to kind of jump on some other shows that I was invited on too, because at the time I said, I don't know what the hell is going on. So I don't really have something to say yet. So we kind of waited to see what was going on. And now everybody's kind of on the same page where we're no matter what region you're in, either your operation's closed or it's been reduced down to only 10 or 50 people or half your occupancy, depends upon where you are. So I really wanted to hold out until we had, some more clear information or flat information across the board from different regions as to what people were doing. So I think now we're kind of all on the same page, and it's not, that's just something that we're just going to kind of laugh off now. We're all on the same page going,
not business as usual.
In unison, right? So I think that I hear Robbie putting up questions. Robbie, is there other postings up on there on LinkedIn? If you're watching us on LinkedIn or on Periscope, YouTube from around the world, please put your questions in. We're fielding them. We're all in this together. This is a global community. The whole purpose of having everybody on is to show Kevin's new wrestling mask that he clearly picked up in either Canmore or Fort Erie.
Yeah, I was gonna say Fort Erie.
It's my new career. I'm a luchador.
Fantastic.
I'm getting out of the restaurant game, guys.
Hey, if it makes you feel any better, I'm not wearing pants.
Can I just remind everybody out there that's not in the business that long time ago, I learned that just to cook a burger and serve a burger in a good restaurant company that has multiple locations, I learned it takes 18 people. I never really realized that until years later, but it's true. It takes a lot of people to do the simplest things, and as a group, the restaurant business is very much dependent on so many others. And just God bless everybody out there, and try to help each other as much as they can.
Times like this, although we don't have the specific answers yet and coordinated activities, but they're going to start to pop up, as was mentioned in Chicago. But these times bring out the best in people, and they can bring out the worst in people. We see, I went to the grocery store this morning and toilet paper still sold out because everyone's hoarded as a toilet paper mountain in their backyard, right? So all this sort of nonsense is there and will continue for a while, but there will be some really good stuff that will come together. And I think our industry, even though it is global, is a very small industry of like-minded people. And as Chef Keller says, it is a people business. We rely upon one another. We have to work in coordination with so many people and in tandem, that there will be good things that come out of this within the industry. And I think our industry really can prove to be leaders within the community, and really take care of one another. And it just strips away, like I said earlier, strips away a lot of the crap, all the competitive crap that we throw up all the time. It's like, no, we're actually in cooperation. We need a good, strong industry that's really pulling together and helping one another out. And I think that is what's going to show. And I think that we can provide that leadership. So fingers crossed that we all are able to make it through and do what we can do.
That's a great point. Yeah, like if we could build a brethrenship out of this, and become a tighter collective. I remember back in the day when I was doing a lot of mixology and cocktail competitions, and everybody held on to their recipe.
Yeah.
As like something like, oh my God, like I will not share this with anyone. And then I don't remember what the turn was. everybody just decided, I think because we got together so often and we became like a bit of a family. This is mostly in the city of Toronto. And I was always like flying away and doing other work abroad and coming back. But I noticed the community develop and get tighter and stronger for whatever reason. I can't put my finger on what the reason was. And then everybody just started sharing their ideas. And it was like, I would love to put one of your cocktails on my list, and I'll mention your name, and and it's those little things. And hopefully, like what you just said, John, was so right. Hopefully there are some positives born out of this, and we become a tighter, stronger unit as a whole. Everybody still competes. I just spent a couple of months down in Niagara on the Lake, which is just down by Niagara Falls in Ontario. And I was working with several different wineries, and they're all natural competitors. They're growing the same grapes, they're producing the same wine. They have different terroir. However, at the end of the day, it's like Fred and Ralph, the dog and the thing on the cartoons. They punch the clock in the morning, they'd fight all day, and then they punch the clock at the end of the day, and they'd walk off together arm in arm. Like these guys would do anything for each other, and I would go to bed every night with like a little warm kind of fuzzy, seeing how much these guys cared about each other, even though during the day they were natural competitors. I need to sell more wine than you need to sell. I need to hit my bottom line. And yet, if somebody's tractor broke down, they would lend them the tractor. If they needed extra support staff, they would like throw them over there. It was so wonderful to see how you could it was such a healthy relationship. And I hope out of this, if anything comes out of this, I hope we see a more natural, honest, healthy relationship in this industry than we had before.
Kevin,
If that makes sense,
Kevin, have you seen all the hockey players hugging each other lately?
Hockey players never hug each other. Basketball players hug each other. Hockey players don't.
Even hockey players are hugging each other now.
No, that's true. I mean, I know. Yeah. Oh, I'm not going to talk about millionaires. I don't care what millionaires do. They're still getting paid to not play their game, which I know is frustrating for them. That's frustrating for them. You imagine playing hockey all your life, and now you can't even go to the rink to skate.
Yeah.
It's got to be tough on those guys too, right? It's tough in a different way.
Yeah.
But it's probably more psychological, but their bodies are going to start to break down if they're not working out, if they're not like, they don't have somebody yelling at them every day. Like they're sitting there watching Netflix like we are, drinking Pinot Grigio at, 4:00 in the afternoon.
and salute to that. When we talk about sharing mentorship and we talk about bringing community together, I mean, that's really when I started this whole kind of organization of bringing the hospitality community together through Real Hospitality Live, through Real Hospitality Network. And what we do is really to bring people together, bring mentorship, bring connections, and bring resources together. And it's really the heart and core of what we do. And the whole point of what we do is to be able to share knowledge, to educate, to inspire, and to be able to say, hey, do you know a guy who does this? Or do you recommend a guy who does that? And there's so much of that I felt that was kind of lost from the industry, or there wasn't a central place to do that. So what we've done in kind of putting together this show and putting together this company that we have on my end is that we wanted to bring together the global community so that we can be a resource for everybody. And I think now's the time for that more than ever to be a part of that. Shameless plug for me, but really that's kind of what we're about. And it is the time for being able to have the competitor, if the competitor's tractor breaks down, to be able to help out in that way, like Kevin is saying, right? So I think I really think that this is the time for that to come together in such a way. And I mean, one of the things that we're doing, and we're going to launch it later this week, is we've partnered with an insurance company in Canada so that we can offer, so that they can offer insurance to frontline staff. And John and I talked about this on the phone a little bit last night, but we've got everybody listening now, so we might as well say something about it.
Is province by province?
It's completely across Canada.
It's a national.
If you're in Canada, then and you're a part of the hospitality industry, you qualify. So if you become a member of Real Hospitality Network, and we're setting up parameters for that. So by the end of the week, that's all going to be ready for people to be able to come on. You can get your health benefits if you happen to be laid off right now and you've lost your benefits. We can help you with that. If you have never been in a restaurant that's had benefits, we can help you with that. And it fluctuates a little bit by province, but it starts at around $90 a month. And it's there to help frontline staff who've never had that opportunity or just lost their prescription or their wife's prescription or their children's prescription. So it's something that we've done. It's taken a long time to find the right partner for us to do it, but it's something that we wanted to bring together and offer to the community.
That's great.
So it's a connection thing. And even if you happen to be working for an organization where you were working for them at one point, let's say this is during normal times, if you happen to be working for them and you leave to go across the street to Bob's restaurant, then you take your insurance with you. So this is something that's never been offered to the hospitality industry in our country. So it's something that we're trying to do to help to lift and cause some stability and retention within the industry just by having it available.
Yeah, that's great.
That's very, very interesting to me, because I always thought Canada provided health insurance to everybody. When I lived in Saskatchewan, it was free.
Yeah.
When I lived in Alberta, it was $12 a month. And then I moved to British Columbia, it was $16 a month.
Yeah, it is. There is a national healthcare by province. Each different province provides different things, but this is a basic healthcare. And healthcare doesn't cover your prescriptions. It doesn't cover your eyeglasses. It doesn't cover your dental, all these things. But this particular product does.
Oh,
so
okay.
That's
known as the extended healthcare, right?
Right. And this isn't set up like somebody said to me yesterday. It's like the Cobra healthcare, where if you happen to have been on a package with your employer and then you leave and then you go and try and sign up later, then it's like $250 a month. It's the Cobra package, because it comes back and bites you in the ass because your employer isn't paying for it anymore. This is something that's affordable for servers. It's affordable for cooks. It's affordable for everybody to be able to be a part of it, right? So it's an initiative that we're doing, and we've sought out this partner. And again, it's taken us 4 years to do so.
Yeah,
So
the
timing on it just happens to be that we can help, and it is what we want to do. So
Just so you guys know, Cobra down here is $800 a month.
right.
Yeah.
Crazy. On the foundation of the Canadian Bartenders Association, which was mostly in British Columbia and Ontario back around 2006, 2007, BC, people like Lauren Moat, who's a fabulous restaurateur and a mixologist and a product developer, her and her husband were really adamant and spearheading it out in British Columbia. And one of the main reasons was for the dental benefits, which were non-existent on that extended health care that John mentioned in the province of British Columbia. And the formulation of the association, the Canadian Bartenders, was really built on the fact that, strength in numbers, they could get like free dental, or assisted dental, where that didn't exist on that platform for this industry before. I want to ask one question before I forget and before we have to cut off. I'm a bit of a conspiracy guy. And I have been thinking about, I love how John was really positive and how Chef Keller was really positive, how Duane was really positive about, when we come out of this, although I said we're going to be rusty, but it's going to be better days, right? It's going to be sunny skies. It's going to be warm. It's not going to rain. It's going to be fantastic. I mean, there is opportunity. What I don't want to see is like price gouging. I don't want to see menus being inflated now because people feel like they got to make up for the last 6 months. you know, I'd rather keep same prices and make portions smaller. Like, and again, I don't know if I'm just forward thinking or I'm panicking. Is there going to be a way for the seedier side of the industry to monopolize on us coming back to what we call normal?
In my opinion, is that I think people aren't going to be able to afford it. People aren't going to have it, and they're not going to put up with something like that come that time, because we've been through getting kicked in the balls for 6 weeks, or however long it takes, right?
Yeah.
So,
I think everybody are much more educated consumers when it comes to restaurants. So even over the last 10 years, there's still the occasional guy that tries to, take advantage. But I don't think we have anything to worry about that right now, because all the restaurants are closing.
Yeah. I just don't want to see them hit back, and like I'd rather see a welcome back in. I'm not asking for like specials or discounts or anything like that. I just don't want to see a menu with elevated prices because they're trying to make up for the last 6 months. Because that's not
they'll
what
be happy to be open.
Yeah.
That's a great answer. That's a great answer.
Get bums in seats and people having a good time and spending money.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's go back to that dental thing, because I really need to know about that, because my dad was the captain of the Hershey Bears, and we got all the chocolate we wanted for free. So every year I went up to my uncle's farm.
How many cavities you got?
I took 2 suitcases up to Saskatchewan. I got on a bus in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania on Saturday morning at 6.
Filled with chocolate?
I got to Saskatoon Tuesday night at 9 with almost 2 suitcases full of chocolate. I had a bargain on my way up there for some things. Specifically, a girl in a velvet sweatsuit with a zipper.
There you go.
What was her name?
I don't know, but she pulled that string on the Greyhound bus in the middle of North Dakota. And I looked around and I was like, where is she going? And she just got off the bus. There wasn't anything around.
The ding ding. Next stop.
That was it. Next stop.
Was she really there?
Oh, she was. She was.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for doing this at short notice, all of you. I'm getting some cues from Robbie. Speak.
I just wanted to interject. I'm sorry for interjecting, but I just wanted to make mention of the fact that, as John was mentioning before, we don't know. Okay. Oh, I just gotta pop in here.
Here's the last.
So as we mentioned before, John, I think you mentioned it. We really don't know where things are going. We can't, really plan or really put anything strategic in place at this point. But what we can do is open and keep open dialogue and communication. So we wanted to let you know that we will be doing a series of lives every day for the next little bit. We'll have different guests on, but we want to invite everyone who's watching, come on and comment, share your expertise, share your strategies. Just share how you're feeling, just so we can keep the conversation in this community together and learn from each other, so that when we do come on the other end, even though we probably won't see sunny skies, that's the reality. We don't know what we're going to see, but at least we'll be together and have some sense of community moving forward that we can all work with. So we just want to invite everyone to keep watching, and please keep commenting and keep sharing ideas. That's all.
Thanks, Robbie.
Yeah, guys, so much for coming. Thank you.
Great pleasure. And
thanks for having us,
everybody.
I love it. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Cheers, one and all.
Cheers, everyone.
Last drop. Ladies and gentlemen, my guests today, John Reese, Kevin Brauch, Chef Duane Keller. Thanks, everybody. Be safe, be well, and stay in touch.
Take care.
Family.